The elevator doors slid open, spilling pale morning light across the lobby's polished floors. The place looked sterile now, plants replaced by acrylic neon quotes Bryce thought made him sound visionary. Disrupt loudly. Dream in metrics. Synergize to rise. Empty words printed big enough to hide how small their new leader truly was. I crossed the floor slowly, the soft click of my heels echoing through the cavernous space I'd watched evolve from a tiny rented suite into a global nerve center. 17 years. Almost half my adult life. Every corridor, every form, every system, my fingerprints lived in this building more reliably than any badge scan ever had. And yet somehow, the place felt unfamiliar today. Or maybe I was unfamiliar to them. I made my way to the executive wing. A fresh coat of paint, new furniture, glass walls polished until they gleamed like shields. But you can shine the outside of a fruit as much as you want. It doesn't change what's rotting underneath. From inside the boardroom, I heard him. Bryce. The new king in the chair he didn't build. His voice drifted into the hallway, smooth, bright, corporate caffeinated. He was hyping the team, preaching about future-focused frameworks and innovative behavioral synergies. Actual words he used, unironically. When he spoke, I could hear the patter of a man who'd never spent a night worrying about payroll or a vendor contract collapsing at midnight. He had never carried the company on his back when the servers glitched in 2010, when compliance nearly swallowed us in 2014, or when Arthur himself had fallen ill and the board needed someone steady. He'd inherited a crown someone else forged, and he wore it like a child playing dress-up. I pressed a hand to the conference room glass and waited for him to finish. His audience laughed on cue, young hires mostly. People who hadn't known the company before the logo redesign, before the trust agreements, before the string of long nights sitting beside Arthur as he sketched visions that would outlive him. Arthur. The only reason I stayed as long as I did. He'd built high-end systems from nothing, not with swagger, but with grit. And he'd trusted me in a way leaders rarely trust anyone. Even when illness dimmed his memory, he still remembered my name. Still signed documents with a trembling hand and whispered, "Keep the foundations steady, Jen." I know you will. But Bryce never cared about foundations. Or history. Or the people who sacrificed pieces of themselves to keep this place standing. He cared about optics. When he finally dismissed the team, I stepped back from the glass. His reflection caught mine. He smiled like a man about to teach a dog a new trick. "Jennifer," he called, waving me into the room with 2 fingers. "We need to talk about aligning your role." My stomach tightened, but not from fear. From certainty. This was the moment the ground silently shifted. The first fracture before the avalanche. More depth, rising tension, emotional stakes. He closed the door gently behind me, the click far too soft for the blow he was about to deliver. His desk looked like a minimalist showroom, one succulent, one laptop, one frothy green drink he pretended was brain fuel. The only paperwork visible was a stack of brochures from consultants he'd hired to modernize archaic structures. Structures I'd spent half my life building. "Take a seat," he said, settling into Arthur's old leather chair like it had been custom-fitted for him. It dwarfed him. Everything in this office did. I remained standing. He cleared his throat. "Jennifer, we're moving fast. Faster than legacy roles can adapt." Legacy. He said it like I was a relic collecting dust instead of the person who'd kept the company alive through 3 recessions, 2 lawsuits, and a data breach that nearly imploded our trajectory. He tapped open his laptop. "After reviewing efficiencies, we're restructuring. Your position, while valuable in the past, doesn't fit the optimized future we're building." Optimized. In Bryce speak, that meant cheaper. Younger. Easier to manipulate. "You're firing me," I said, calm as a still lake. He lifted his shoulders in a faux apologetic shrug. "We prefer the term sunsetting. It's softer." I watched him talk. Really watched him. The bright, eager eyes of a man who'd never faced consequences. The rehearsed sympathy, the underlying thrill of having power for the first time and using it not to lead, but to cut. I thought of Arthur again, how he used to lean back in this same chair, glasses perched halfway down his nose, telling me stories about the early days. Stories about trust. about succession, about fear of the wrong people gaining control, and about safeguards. Quiet safeguards. Of course, Bryce added, we appreciate your historical contributions. The way he said historical made something inside me finally fall silent. Not break. Not burn. Just still. Like a lake before the storm. I lifted my purse, smoothed my jacket, and nodded once. Thank you for the clarity. He blinked, surprised I wasn't begging for my seat at a table I'd practically built. So you're good? No, I wasn't good. I was ready. By the time I walked out of the building, the first threads of the plan unfurled. The notary appointment, the courier I'd prepaid, the sealed envelope waiting in my desk drawer at home. I had kept those papers intact through office moves, mergers, and digital overhauls. Because Arthur had made me promise to protect the foundation. And I had. As the parking garage swallowed the sunlight, my phone buzzed. A notification from HR. My termination paperwork, time-stamped. 7:59 a.m. perfect. The first domino had fallen. The twist, the reversion clause is triggered. I sat in my car as the city hummed around me, taxis blurring past, people rushing to jobs they hoped wouldn't crumble beneath them. My hands trembled just once before studying. This wasn't revenge. Revenge is loud, emotional, sloppy. This was fulfillment of design. I reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a slim folder, weathered at the edges, but intact. Inside, clipped neatly to a yellow directive, was a notarized page Arthur and I had signed years ago. Back before illness, back when he'd had the foresight to protect his life's work from familial incompetence. Section 4.8. Operational Reversion Agreement. A clause so old the company's newer lawyers barely knew it existed. A clause renewed in every compliance cycle at my instruction. A clause designed to protect high-end systems if a future leader acted without board oversight. A clause Bryce had just triggered. I got out of the car and walked into a small notary office sandwiched between a laundromat and a dentistry clinic. The woman behind the desk glanced up, bored until she read the first line of my document. Her eyebrows lifted slightly, but she stamped it without a word. By the time I left, the paper felt heavier. Final. Alive. Next stop, the courier I'd hired 2 weeks earlier. The man greeted me by name. He'd processed enough legal envelopes to recognize the weight of them without knowing the contents. He scanned the label. His expression sharpened. Signature required, he confirmed. Only from the company's general counsel, I said. Not HR. Not the CEO. No substitutes? None. He nodded, understanding more than I said aloud. When he drove off, a tiny GPS pin blinking across his dashboard, I felt the whole city tilt. Not dramatically. Quietly. The way a tectonic plate shifts deep underground before the world above understands it. As I sat outside a coffee shop with a view of high-end systems' gleaming glass facade, a message pinged in one of my old WhatsApp threads. A screenshot. From Bryce's Slack channel. Spring cleaning. Out with the old. Followed by a broom emoji. Another ping, a laughing emoji stamped beneath it. Another, a fire emoji. I stared at the screen for a long moment. People forget that silence doesn't mean absence. It means preparation. Across the street, Bryce strutted out of the building, sunglasses flashing in the sun. He looked invincible. Triumphant. Certain. In the courier's satchel, less than 5 miles away, fate was already signed, sealed, and on its way to the legal department. 72 hours. That's all the clause required. I sipped my coffee and waited. The storm had begun. Escalation, panic inside the company, stakes rising. By Wednesday morning, the building's gossip channels were vibrating like live wires. Every department had sensed the atmospheric pressure shift. People spoke in whispers near printers, ducked into stairwells, kept their screens angled away from passing managers. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. And Bryce, poor, oblivious Bryce, was the only one who didn't see the cracks widening beneath him. Inside a borrowed home office, I watched screenshots, forwarded emails, and shaky hallway recordings trickle into my burner phone. My former coworkers weren't traitors. They were terrified. And terrified people cling to truth, even if that truth is coming from someone they assumed was gone for good. At noon, an email leaked. Legal review required, governance issue pending, no details. Just enough smoke to make everyone smell fire. By 3 p.m., a second leak surfaced. Board to meet early Thursday. Mandatory attendance for all executives. Meanwhile, the internal Slack turned into a digital battleground. Bryce posted overconfident platitudes. Legacy doesn't equal leadership. We're stepping boldly into the future. Some transitions require pruning old branches. Someone in accounting dared to reply, "Is Jennifer coming back?" That message was screenshot 10 times in 10 minutes. Then came the panicked call from the IT department to compliance. The archived governance binders, the physical ones, were missing pages. Not because of tampering, but because I had filed the originals with Trust Council years ago. Exactly where they belonged. The courier confirmed delivery to General Counsel Lisa at 12:03 p.m. timestamp perfect. Chain of custody airtight. By evening, Bryce's confident posture had devolved into frantic pacing. His assistants tried to calm him, not knowing they were soothing a man already standing in his own grave. Somewhere around sunset, I got a whisper from someone in the legal office. "He's trying to backdate your termination." I laughed. Not out of malice, out of awe. Even in crisis, Bryce chose shortcuts instead of accountability. By midnight, a local business reporter tweeted, "High-end Systems Board in emergency session tomorrow. CEO leadership under review." Developing story. Hundreds of likes. Dozens of retweets. PR nightmare activated. But the most telling message arrived at 1:12 a.m. A private email from Lisa, the General Counsel. "Please confirm whether you have executed the reversion clause as stated in Article 4.8. One line. Professional. Careful. I replied, executed. Timestamped. Delivered. Effective today. I signed it warmly. Because I am and have always been undeniably professional. Outside my window, the city glowed with distant office lights, unaware that a corporate earthquake was coming. In 9 hours, the board would convene. In 10, the truth would detonate. The reveal. The envelope. The decisive moment. The boardroom felt colder than the air conditioning could explain. 12 members sat rigid around a long walnut table. No coffee. No pastries. No small talk. Bryce stood near the head like a child forced to apologize at a family gathering. His bravado had drained away, leaving a man who understood only one thing. He was losing. Lisa, calm as winter, placed 2 folders on the table, one black, one red. Her fingers rested lightly on the black one. "Let's begin," she said. Meredith, the board chair, nodded. "Lisa, your findings?" Lisa didn't sit. She opened the black folder. Section 4.8 of the Operational Reversion Agreement has been triggered. The clause is valid, active, and enforceable. Termination was executed without proper severance or board review. A soft murmur rippled through the room. Bryce laughed, a high, brittle sound. This was ceremonial. Symbolic. No one actually uses clauses like this. Lisa met his eyes with surgical precision. It was reaffirmed in 2018. Signed by the founder. And initialed by Ms. Crane. Silence. Meredith folded her hands. "We need to identify the designated successor." Lisa lifted a sealed manila envelope, the kind only Trust Council touches, signed across the flap years ago. "This," she said, "is the founder's appointment of successor in the event of operational reversion. Sealed in 2019. Opened only now." She slit the envelope. Slid out a single ivory page. Her eyes scanned it. She blinked once. "Meredith," she said softly. "You should read it." Meredith took the letter. Her breath hitched, not in shock, but recognition. One by one, the page passed around the table. No one gasped. No one whispered. The truth landed heavy, inevitable. Finally, Bryce snapped, "Say it." Meredith turned to him. "The appointed successor is Jennifer L. Crane." The words cracked through the room like a snapped cable. Bryce staggered back. No. She was just operations. She was trusted, Lisa said. He pointed wildly at the board. "We can override this. Vote. Do something." Overrides require the founder's written consent, Lisa replied. And the only person authorized to request updated trust documents, she paused, is Jennifer. Bryce fell into his chair, face pale. The clock above the door ticked. 8 a.m. A soft knock. Security opened the door. The courier entered, delivering a final envelope to Meredith, Jennifer's activation packet. It's done, Lisa said. Reversion finalized as of this moment. Bryce whispered, what happens now? The door opened again. And I walked in. Not triumphant. Not smug. Just steady. Just ready. The room went still the moment I stepped inside. Not with shock. Shock is messy. This was something cleaner. Recognition. Relief. Gravity coming home. I wore a simple black suit. No jewelry. No victory smile. I didn't need symbols. The authority wasn't in my pockets. It was in the paper trail. The compliance cycles. The trust of a man who'd built this company with his bare hands. Arthur's trust. And my promise to him. I walked past Bryce without looking at him. He shrank back instinctively, like a man bracing against an oncoming tide. I sat at the head of the table, the chair he'd kept warm, not earned. Meredith cleared her throat. Under Section 4.8, operational oversight is now transferred to Jennifer Crane. Lisa nodded. Confirmed. Legally binding. Effective immediately. I inserted my flash drive into the console. The screen lit up with a clean white page, a message already drafted. Steady hands. Clear eyes. We return to our foundations. We move forward with integrity. No signature. I didn't need one. Bryce stumbled forward. You can't do this. Jennifer, please listen, I didn't mean. I finally looked at him. Not angrily. Not triumphantly. Just truthfully. Bryce, I said quietly, I warned you. Foundations matter. Processes matter. People matter. His lip trembled. I can fix this. We can work together. I'll undo the termination. It's done, I said gently. You pulled the pin. The clause simply followed the gravity you created. Security stepped forward. He backed up. You think you won? No, I replied. I think the company survived. I handed him an envelope, the one the board had prepared overnight. His separation agreement. Fair. Legal. Respectful. More than he'd given me. He stared at it like it was a death sentence. Consider this your final lesson, I whispered. Leadership isn't about legacy or title. It's about stewardship. And you never learn to hold anything without breaking it. He swallowed, nodded once, and let security guide him out. The door shut softly. The room exhaled. I stood and addressed the board. We rebuild, I said. Not by erasing the past, but by honoring the work that brought us here. We stabilize operations immediately. We reinstate those wrongfully terminated. And we restore the systems that kept us strong. No one objected. Because this wasn't a takeover. It was a return. Later, down in the lobby, employees watched me pass with cautious hope. Some whispered. Some smiled. Many simply straightened their posture, as if remembering how it felt to work somewhere that respected them. Outside, the city glimmered with morning light. A new beginning, not born of vengeance, but of design. Of continuity. Of quiet, relentless loyalty. I paused on the steps and let the breeze pass over me. It smelled like possibility. And somewhere far above, in the founder's penthouse, I imagined Arthur smiling, weak, tired, but proud.